What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 6 of the StoryShort podcast. Today's guest is Brendon Rose. Brendon is an incredibly talented tattoo artist based here in the East Bay, and I wanted to have him on because I've been wanting to actually talk to him for a long time. We're both Pleasanton natives. We're both Amador Valley High School alumni, just like I'm sure some of the people listening are as well. More importantly, he's just such an incredible story and journey to where he is now, and his outlook and his worldview is just so refreshing and pretty remarkable considering what he went through. So I wanted everybody to hear, and he was really awesome, and I'm just so glad he's willing to share his story with us. So without further ado, episode 6, Brendon Rose, let's do it. How's it going, Brendon?
Good.
Cool.
How you doing?
Good. How's
Good.
2019 so far?
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good so far. Yeah. Business is starting to pick up. When it gets close to tax return season, that's when you start. Yeah. And end of the year, holidays and stuff like that slows down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, once tax return season comes back, that's when business starts to pick up. But aside from that, everything else is really good.
Yeah.
Family's good. Yeah. We just moved into a new place in Concord, so
Very cool.
still unpacking
Yeah.
still unpacking the house there. Trying to find time to do that stuff, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Concord's really blowing up. I mean, they're really spending a lot of money to kind of revitalize certain parts of town, and kind of I almost feel like it's starting to become, I mean, for lack of a better analogy, kind of like Livermore, like you feel like they're starting to throw more money in, and
Oh, sure.
and like it's starting to get, it's just there's new housing, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot kind of going on there.
yeah, I've noticed it. I mean, I haven't been out there for too long. I was in Pleasant Hill for 2 years
Yeah.
before we just moved here. But I mean, it seems like they're trying to do some more to
Yeah.
vamp it up. I think Livermore is kind of like the goal, right? It's kind of like
Yeah.
the standard for cities that are trying to do that,
Right.
just because
Yeah.
of what they've been able to do out there. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of a funny story. So, I mean, we went to the same high school,
Yeah.
right? We had a lot of the same friends.
yeah.
And I think this is the first time I've talked to you. Like, I actually talked to you or your brother.
Oh, okay.
Well, obviously, like, I haven't talked to your brother Adam,
Yeah.
but
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's just same thing, just different guy.
Yeah.
But the same guy.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy how, how life works that way, where you because I could probably count a million times how many times I walked by you and your brother.
Sure. Yeah.
Just different.
Never had a conversation.
Just different circles.
paths. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I always heard, because a lot of my good friends were also some of your good friends too. And so it's just kind of funny how that all works.
Yeah.
And, how it all kind of comes full circle. So obviously, like, we're all happy to be grown adults and out of high school and stuff like that.
Sure,
But
yeah.
what do you miss about Amador or Pleasanton in general?
Yeah, I mean, as far as Amador itself or high school, playing football, like that was my life back then.
Yeah.
That was pretty much everything for me. So yeah, those were fun times for sure. Yeah.
And both you and Adam played, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys were like what, linebackers?
Linebacker and running back.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep. Yeah, that was back before everybody grew and we just stayed the same height.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, it was fun. That was a lot of my fondest memories are from not just like playing, because obviously I love that and the competition and stuff like that, but the camaraderie and stuff like that. Yeah, the I guess life lessons, if you want to call it that, and working for things and and winning,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was all cool.
So yeah, so the reason why I wanted to have you on was because apart from the Amador connection,
Sure.
I wanted to talk to you about something that you had gone through. I want to say 2003 was kind of when it all started.
Yeah.
I
think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. There's no mystery. Yeah, there's no mystery here.
Yep.
So yeah, so I mean, I wanted you to just kind of talk about that night because, you've gone through quite a bit.
Sure.
And I definitely wanted, for what you went through to what you're doing now. I mean, it's such a huge and really cool thing, and I wanted to like, show that journey for everybody listening or watching.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I guess summarize kind of what happened that night and kind of the events that led up to it and all that.
Yeah, sure. Well, it started out, I went out there for we just went out to a party out there at Santa Clara University somewhere. And I mean, obviously this was a long time ago. So as far as like specifics and stuff like that, I don't know as far as that's concerned, but we were just, drinking, partying, and through the course of the evening ended up getting into an altercation. For me personally, one earlier in the evening, and it wasn't directly connected to the incident that we're talking about that landed me in the situation that I landed in, but I was a part of it, so I do have that connection. They weren't directly connected to each other, but other than because it was me. But anyways, so the short of it, really got into an altercation earlier in the evening, and I think I was probably, been out of shape about that incident, and in some sense was probably looking for. I don't want to use the word revenge, but you know what I mean? Like I was just angered, and you're young and you're doing the macho guy shit, which is stupid anyways, but that's just kind of how it was. So I ended up in another altercation that it wasn't just me. It was, a group of us that ended up in it was kind of like I want to say brawl, you know what I mean? There was multiple people on both sides.
Yeah.
And at some point, I remember, my brother was, he was there too. After the first one, the first little altercation that I got into, I called him, and I was like, hey, come out here. Ended up, I mean, not specifically for any reason, but, he ended up coming out and so we got into a group altercation later in the evening. There was a bunch of us that were involved, but I just remember I was, fighting with this guy and just, kind of had this thought like, oh shit, where's Adam, and I turned and, I see Adam being, it's like three dudes, and I think there was like one behind him or something like that. It looked like they were trying to take him to the ground, but he was essentially fighting three guys, and I just did something really stupid after that, and I'm not making excuses for it or anything like that, but I ran over there and I hit one of the dudes in the face, and he fell down, and then I kicked him, I kicked him in the head. So and he ended up being hospitalized, was in a coma for a little while. Thankfully survived. That's I would say one of the most fortunate things about the situation is that he survived. If not the most, the most fortunate thing is that he survived. You know what I mean? So he survived, but I think it was a month and a half or a few weeks later, I was arrested and began the whole pretrial and legal experience with that whole situation, and eventually ended up going to prison. So
and so kind of I know there's just so many kind of twists and turns, and there's a lot that there's a lot of nuances that kind of are sprinkled in.
Yeah,
to all these different
sure.
that got you to where that was. But
Yeah.
you know, so I mean, I kind of just have to say that, you know, I have two brothers, right, and my little brother, God bless him, you know, he fought a lot when we were kids, and sometimes he caught the attention of people that were like older than him, right? And so as like at the time, you know, I was like one of the bigger kids, and that was my little brother. So it was like I would have to often step in for him and be like, you know, this isn't gonna happen or whatever. And but what, like, I guess what I'm saying is that easily could have been me in your shoes, right, with your brother.
Sure.
And I think that most people listening here, like when it comes to family, right, like especially when your brother's being ganged up on by people, it's only natural for you to defend your family.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, stuff goes wrong, right? But it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm not excusing it, but I totally understand if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not, and never have I made an attempt to excuse it. But so there's that aspect of it, you know, it's like you see somebody that you love, regardless of whether it's your brother or whoever, you know, even a friend that you love, being attacked, and so that sets something off in you. It's kind of like an animalistic kind of a, you know, protect your loved ones kind of a thing. And so for that specific moment, sure, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that that's what led me to at least intervene in that particular situation, you know. The interesting thing about it, you know, for me is because I for a long time I dealt with trying to piece that evening together a little bit, and look at it a little bit more objectively, you know, because on one hand I'm sitting here going, well, you know, it's my brother, he was getting attacked. What the fuck was I supposed to do? Right, you know what I mean? But on the other hand, it's like, well, you know, there's a reason why we have laws and, you know, and stuff like that. So you can go back and forth with that stuff for you know, forever. But one thing that it took me a long time to really try and see was, you know, how we ended up in that situation. It's not like we were just walking down the street and these guys just jumped my brother. I mean, I'm sure if that was the case, and you know, and that was the incident that happened that evening, that it would have been a little bit different outcome. You know, at least you hope so. You know, you hope that the system works in that way. Right. But you know, it's like a snowball effect, right? I created that situation, you know, in a sense. Obviously, I'm not the only person that was there. I'm not the only person that, you know, involved themselves in the altercation. You know, when you involve yourself in an altercation or a fight or whatever, I think it's safe to say that, you know, you have at least somewhat of an understanding that it's potentially dangerous, and so you know, you do have to bear some responsibility for what happens to you or other people if you involve yourself in an altercation. But at the same time, you know, we were talking a little bit earlier about how I was involved in an altercation earlier in the evening, and you know, looking back on it, of course, it's different when you're in a situation, especially when you're young and you know, drinking and you know, just being you know, being a teenager in some sense. But I could have very easily, after that situation, just been like, you know what, that was really stupid. Let's just go back to doing what we were doing, because nobody got hurt. You know what I mean? It's just a stupid little altercation, like kids being drunk and talking shit and just, you know what I mean? Yep. Which happens all the time, you know, even as adults. You know, so for me, it took me a long time to be like, you know what, sure, everybody that you know, in that isolated incident, everybody that was involved bears some responsibility in terms of, you know, what happens after that. Right. But at the end of the day, I could have easily, after that first one, just been like, you know what, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? Let's just go back to partying, having fun, doing whatever we were doing, you know? Or I didn't even have to involve myself in that first altercation. You know, it was basically just some some frat dude with a couple of his frat bros standing with him they were talking shit to me, you know, as I was walking away from a party, and I couldn't let it go, you know?
Yeah.
Couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
But you know, it's always it's easy to look back on stuff like that and be like, oh, I should have done this, should have done that. But you know, the bottom line is, you know, everything that happened, and I'm here talking with you today because of it. And you know, I went through what I went through, and I gained what I gained from it, and you know, I have relationships that I've strengthened because of that entire situation. Things that I've accomplished. I have my family, you know, I have my daughter, my job, which who knows if I would have ever ended up doing that. You know, I mean, I would like to say that it was my destiny, you know what I mean? But who knows? I don't know that. At the time, I was just kind of floundering about, trying to figure out if I was gonna, you know, go to school or do whatever, and I didn't really have any kind of path, or I wasn't playing football anymore. You know, my brother was. I think at that time was he just back from Oregon, or he was in Oregon still going to school? Either way, you know, my life, as far as where it is now, I'm extremely happy and you know, feel very fortunate. So, yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of how I look at it now. I went on a little bit of a tangent, huh?
No,
Okay.
No.
Yeah, because we were talking about the incident, you know,
Yeah.
but I think it's, you know, it's interesting. I've never had a conversation like this. I mean, I've talked with friends and stuff, but I've never really had a conversation with somebody that you know, I mean, we know of each other, but we don't really know each other. So I'm, you know, getting into depth about that kind of stuff and sharing, you know, my perspective and stuff like that. I haven't really done that, you know, so it's kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I really appreciate, you know, how honest and just open you are about it. 'Cause I mean, you know, it's tough, and it's not easy. It's not easy, like to look at yourself in that manner where, you know, you do have to like take responsibility, even though, which we'll kind of get into. Yeah. There's some things that were just kind of I mean, I don't know if unfair is the word, but it just seems super heavy-handed.
Sure.
And so, but I mean, your attitude about it is pretty amazing, because I mean, if you were super angry still, you know, I don't think anybody would blame you. But the fact that you're just like, you know what, like that was then, this is now. Like I have a family. I got so much to be grateful for. Like I can't change what happened, but I'm, you know.
Yeah, and it's hard to see things from that perspective. You know, in the very beginning, when I first went into prison. So get this: the day that I was sentenced was Mother's Day. The day that I actually like caught the bus, I was just thinking about this morning. Yeah. The day that I caught the bus to San Quentin for like reception, where you first start out, was my dad's birthday. Oh, so that's a kicker for you, you know. That was trippy. I think about that all the time. And you know, I already knew what my earliest possible release date was, because you know, depending on the nature of the conviction or whatever, like whether it's a violent crime or a drug crime, whatever, they give you you know, I guess I'll say good time for it. So like if you don't get into any trouble or anything like that, you know, you can get out earlier than like what the actual sentence is. So like my sentence was 8 years, but I was due out in 6 years and 10 months was my earliest, which is what I did. It's 85% of whatever your conviction is. But that's because, you know, there was violence involved and stuff like that. So yeah, my earliest date to be released was 3 days after my 27th birthday. So going in being, what was I, 19, 20, and then I was 20 years old when I went in, and then 3 days after my 19th or my 27th birthday is when I got out.
Wow.
Yeah. So all those, you know, it just seemed kind of looking back on it, it's like, damn, dude, you know, just what a coincidence. Mother's Day, you get sentenced. Your father's birthday, you go to prison for the first time, and then 3 days after my 27th is when I got out. Yeah. Yeah, kind of trippy stuff.
Yeah, it's insane how that kind of all comes down and what you remember. Yeah, because you know, it's like I remember my 21st birthday too really well. We were
the building that I was in was being searched. There was a stabbing a couple days prior. It was on Valentine's Day. They called it the Valentine's Day Massacre. God, I remember that now. Wow. Yeah, there was a stabbing in the building a couple days earlier, and so they lock everybody down when something like that happens, and then they go through and they search. They search all the cells and stuff like that. They're looking for weapons and stuff like that, because obviously like that's just their protocol for making sure everybody's safe and whatever. And so yeah, it was my 2 days later. So that happened on Valentine's Day. 2 days later, which was my 21st birthday, they came through and they were searching all the cells. And so what they do is like they'll do like a block of people, a block of cells, so they're not letting everybody out at once and searching because they don't have enough cops, and they were searching our cell. They just got around to us, so they take us down and they have you like in your boxers, maybe a t-shirt, because they want to search you, make sure you don't have anything on you or whatever like that. And then they zip tied us and sat us in the middle of the room while they were searching through our cell. And I just remember sitting there, like they tied these fucking things super tight on my wrist. Yeah. So they were kind of like turning purple, and so I was looking down like, shit, dude, how much longer am I going to be here? But I just remember thinking like, happy birthday to me. You know what I mean? Like my 21st birthday, that was the first birthday I had being in there, and just experiencing that. So yeah, it was kind of funny. Anyways, yeah, just things are like kind of popping up, to me. That was interesting. Yeah. So anyways.
So Adam, I think it'd be good to go back
you
just
a
little.
Called me Adam.
Oh.
Okay, common mistake. Common mistake.
Let's do it. Let's do it over.
I'm out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Does that happen to you guys a lot?
Yeah, I mean, not so much anymore, just because we're he lives quite a ways away, so we don't see each other as much anymore, and because of that, we're not out as much anymore.
Sure.
But yeah, over the span of our lifetime, yeah, sure, it happens all the time. It's funny. I was joking with my dad the other day. We were talking on the phone because they're always talking to each other for business, so they're on the phone with each other, all day long. So he very regularly calls me Adam when we're talking on the phone, just because he's so used to it. He's so used to talking to Adam on the phone. So yeah, but
I think that's another thing that's important to point out is like, not only are you and Adam brothers, but you're twins.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, I mean, let's kind of, I guess, look at that from the perspective of like, I mean, that's just like a totally different relationship.
Yeah.
It's very special. It's unique.
Yeah.
When you're twins.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that had to play into that whole thing as well.
Yeah. I'd say so. I mean, the extent of that, I'm not too sure, because he's my only sibling, and I don't know what it's like to grow up without a twin brother. So, that was just very, very normal to me. But, I would say, the relationship is definitely special there. But, not to the extent that it would, I would do that for anybody that, what I mean? Like, I feel like I would react that way for anybody that I loved. But yeah, that relationship is definitely very special. Yeah, for sure.
And so we'll back up just a little bit to, so, you get arrested, and then the whole pretrial thing starts.
Yeah.
And so, what were they charging you with? And then, and kind of parlay that into what your advice your original lawyer gave you and all that.
Oh, yeah. So the original charge was attempted murder. Yeah. And, I don't know if that's like a tactic, you know what I mean? I don't know what they know at the time. They just know that this kid's, like in the hospital, and here's what people are saying. So, yeah. Attempted murder was the original charge. And then, they dropped it down to, it was I can't recall exactly what it was, like assault with force likely to induce great bodily injury or something like that. Okay. And then there was like a battery as well, and then there was an enhancement because he was in a coma. So yeah, I mean, I have I had paperwork that said like it was like a a 5-year term with a 3-year enhancement, and then I think I had another. I saw another piece of paper that was like 4-year term with 4-year enhancement, but anyway you cut it, it's 8 years was the thing, but that was that's what they dropped it down to. So when I was initially arrested, that was the charge at first, and then you go get arraigned, and because of the circumstances, they whatever, they dropped the charges or whatever to the assault, and so that's what it was at that point moving forward. I'm pretty sure that's how that went.
Okay.
Yeah. That whole thing, once I remember being arrested in my first night pretty well. I think I spent a couple days because they arraign you. So it's like they arrest you, and then a couple days later they arraign you, just depending on when you got arrested and what the schedule of the court is and all that kind of stuff. And so when you're arraigned, that's when you're formally charged. And then they set bail and all that kind of stuff, So so I think I was the first when I first got arrested, I spent a couple of days in the jail.
Was that Santa Rita?
No, it was Santa Clara County Jail.
Oh, right.
In San Jose, yeah, because that's where everything happens. So they take you. Yeah, that was interesting too about about getting arrested, because I mean, I don't know what the protocol is. I'm not, a detective or a police officer, obviously. So I don't know what the protocol is. But so when I was arrested, they didn't like come to my door. I mean, obviously they had an arrest warrant, but they didn't come to my door and knock and be like, "Hey, are you, Brendon Rose? Put your hands behind your back. This and that." They waited for me to like leave my house. I was on my way to meet. I remember this very clearly. I was on my way to meet my friend Michelle. At TCBY, where that used to be on Hop Yard. Yeah. I was going to meet her there, and they pulled up behind me. Just I don't remember exactly where, but I was leaving my dad's house, and they pulled up behind me in a van and pulled me over that way, and and took me to San Jose. That was pretty interesting. But I don't know how I got on that. I do that sometimes.
No, so you got, well, because I was interested to know where they had you.
Yeah, they had me. Yeah, San Jose. Yep, that's where it was. Yeah, so I was in San Jose main jail for a couple of days, and then there was the arraignment, and then I got released on bail.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
And so you're on bail, right? And obviously, and so then you. I assume your family hired an attorney, or was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have to get into any names or anything per se, but like, so how did that, when he started kind of telling you how you should go about this and all that, what was that kind of?
I mean, that was a long time ago, and honestly, a lot of that stuff to me is It was so confusing because I'd never dealt with anything like that before,
Sure.
So it's like you're sitting here trying to, you're trying to make heads or tails out of the situation, and I don't know anything about like being involved in the legal system or dealing with lawyers or anything like that. Like my whole thing was, we wanted to obviously avoid. I wanted to avoid. Oh, am I too far away? Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
All right, cool. I wanted to avoid. Going to prison, obviously, but at the very end of it, it just kind of seemed like he thought the best way for me to do that and to get like a felony probation or whatever was to basically just say, I did what I did, and let the judge be the one to decide what that final outcome was, but there was a sentencing hearing, and so basically what was supposed to happen is there was going to be like everybody presents. There's no like I don't think there's really there wasn't any questioning witnesses or anything. It wasn't a trial, it was a sentencing date. So everything was put forth, and then it was basically like the judge is going to decide what it is just based off of what they had already, outside of witness testimony and stuff like that. But I did have like character references and stuff like that, which was really, really important to have. And you know, we felt like, considering I had no real criminal history or anything like that. I mean, you know, I had stuff in my juvenile record, just you know, like stuff with alcohol and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But nothing involving violence or, you know, anything like that. So I guess we just felt like, given all of those, we were made to feel like, not like I just came up with this on my own, you know what I mean? But considering, you know, I wasn't like a violent criminal or anything like that, and considering the you know, extenuating circumstances of the case, that it would be something, I don't want to say favorable, but that it would be far more likely for me to you know, do like a felony probation or something like that, as opposed to serving time in prison. And we never even really spoke about, you know, what the like terms were, you know, and as far as me going to prison, you know, like, hey, you're looking at this, you know what I mean? I didn't even, that wasn't something I was even considering, you know, I didn't think about it. And looking back on it, I probably should have, but I didn't know any better, you know what I mean? So, so that's kind of how all that went down. And then that day is, he was like, he was preparing me to almost take the stand, which is, looking back on it, strange because nobody else did, but you know, I had a talk with my lawyer, and this guy is like, you know, I like I said, I didn't have any experience with lawyers or anything like that, so I don't know what they're like, you know. I just kind of took it as this guy is just the way that he is, and you know, I'd heard that he was a decent attorney or whatever, but I didn't know. I was just like, okay, just somebody help me.
Sure, yeah.
You know, so and he was like, yeah, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put you up there, and I'm gonna go through you know, I'm going to go through the evening with you, and I'm going to ask you questions, and you know, so here's some of the questions I'm going to ask. You know, so in a sense, like preparing me for testifying. And then that day, you know, here I am, sitting there like scared shitless, not knowing what's going to happen, but hoping that, you know, considering the circumstances, that there's some mercy there. At the very end, he's like, you know what? This is like in the middle, like right before the judge makes her ruling. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to ask you any questions. Why don't you just get up and start talking about everything we discussed? So I was like, what? You know, and what else am I supposed to do in that situation? Like, I'm essentially fighting for my life at that point, you know? So I'm like, okay. And I just stand up, you know, and everybody's looking at me. And I'm essentially like fighting for my own life, you know, and I'm sitting there thinking like, isn't that what you're supposed to be doing? You know, and I don't know anything about the law. So I just kind of start talking about what happened, that evening. And it just like, it felt really weird. You know what I mean? Like it felt wrong, but I didn't know. I was just doing it. And then, yeah, so I think she, you know, she heard what I had to say, and then made her ruling, and that was that. Yeah. So
they sentenced you to 8 years.
Yeah.
But it was more like 6
years and 10 months is what I actually served. I mean, you know, so you could end up doing more than what your, you know what I mean? Than what your minimum. So like they sentenced me to 8. When you go to prison, you can like catch cases inside a prison. You know what I mean? Like you can do things and go to court and all that kind of stuff from inside a prison, just, you know, depending on what it is that you do. But they give you like so like my earliest possible release date was 6 years and 10 months, and I made that. So that's great. But it could have been another, you know, year and 2 months or whatever. So
So I mean, I think it's hard not to be like, just as I mean, Lord only knows what you're thinking, right? But I mean, and your family's thinking, right?
Sure.
But from an outsider looking in, that just seems incredibly heavy-handed. And it also, it's hard not to be cynical of the justice system when you see that, because on one hand, you know, again, nobody's excusing what had happened. And definitely
myself included.
Exactly. Yeah. But it just seems like it almost seems that, and I hope this doesn't sound naive, but it seems like his life was much more valued than your life. And when it came, because the reality is that, so let me back up, because I could be talking out my, what, but so, I mean, because the prosecutor, from what I've read, and seemed to have had it in their mind, right, that you were like this violent person.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it benefits the case if that's true. I'm not saying that they, I don't know. I don't know what their deal was. I like to assume that they have a job to do, just like the defense attorney has a job to do, and from their perspective, here's this young kid who ends up in the hospital with these pretty serious injuries caused by me, and I'm somebody who is not from that town or city, and I come out there partying, and so the way that that everybody looks at things is just going to be kind of dependent upon what your subjective view is. And so I would hate to believe that there was anything personal involved in terms of like trying to make an example out of me. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if it really had anything to do with me specifically. I don't think I'm that special, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't be surprised by that. But as far as it being heavy-handed and all that kind of stuff, like that's a difficult. It's a difficult thing for me at the time. Obviously, I felt that way. I'm sure my family felt that way. Yeah. But then you take a step back and you think, well, what if I was that kid's parents? You know what I mean? Yeah. What if that's my son or daughter being in that situation, and what do you think about that, and what would you be saying to the authorities? You know what I mean? And their job is to serve the public and to make sure that the public is safe, and so like, of course, you know what I mean? Of course. So like I said, I'd hate to think that there was anything else going on there. It's hard not to feel, or at least have an inkling of a thought about something like that, because of how I felt like I was treated. But I'm the bad guy, you know what I mean? I did something, and here's the thing too, is it wasn't so much about the fact that I hit the kid, because I only hit him twice. I hit him 2 times, you know, and I punched him in the face, he fell down, and then I kicked him. So it's the second part, you know what I mean? It's the kick that was the main issue there, because it's like, you see somebody you love being attacked, you go and do what you got to do. As far as that's concerned, you involve yourself, right? If there's no other option. And so I hit the kid in the face. He fell down and hit his head against the concrete. At that point, he's not a threat to me anymore. You know what I mean? Telling that to somebody in that moment, well, I hate to draw this comparison, but you watch, like, if you see UFC fights and shit like that, that's the closest, comparison in terms of like the mindset, in terms of like, what your brain goes through and what your body goes through in a situation like that. They have referees in there to stop things for a reason, and it's because, in a situation like that, hitting somebody and knocking them down. But at that point, I think like I was just so enraged, you know what I mean? Like I was so just whatever it was that I was experiencing at the time probably didn't help that I had been drinking, you know what I mean? Like, that's a bad mix there. But, So, I don't want to say the punch is excusable, because there's really no like excuse for something like that. But the kick was the thing that everybody looked at and was like, that's the thing that we can't get past, you know.
Sure.
Like he wasn't a threat to you anymore, you know.
Yeah.
But it happened like that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's not like I stood there and I was like, yeah, I should really fucking kick this guy
Yeah.
in the head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not that way.
Yeah.
But I was just, you know, just feeling whatever I was feeling in it, and it just happened,
Yeah.
you know. But again, you know, looking at it from the other side, from the you know, the victim's family side and that kind of stuff, like who cares? Who cares if that's my perspective, you know, if that's how I was seeing it or whatever. Like, you did what you did, and my son is now severely injured. And you know, I think in the beginning they thought that there was a possibility that he might not make it, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And, you know, that's the most fortunate thing is that he did, you know?
Yeah.
So everything else is just, it's just the way that it happened, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, you know, at the end of the day, I did something wrong. I did something illegal. I was prosecuted for it, and I went to prison for it.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's like, well, the system works.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, beyond that, I don't know. I try not to even, you know, I try not to even think about that kind of stuff, because either way, it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna change what happened, and it's not gonna change where I am. And so if I thought or worried too much about that kind of stuff, you know, I wouldn't want it to affect, you know, where I am in my life today. You know, so who knows what, you know, again, who knows what happens if I didn't experience that the way that I did. So,
Right.
so yeah.
So no, I mean, so you bring up a good point. I mean, again, I'm just so blown away by your optimism and graciousness, you know, when it comes to what you went through.
Yeah.
And I think that's like really all that you can do. Cause I mean, there's, I had an incident back in like 2010 that really changed my life. And I still have people that are way more mad about it than I am.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? And so, basically where I, had a child that wasn't mine, didn't know about it till like 2 years down the road.
Oh, wow.
So that was brutal for me and my family. Right.
Yeah.
And, that, again, not comparing that to going to prison for 8 years for, you know, I mean, what again, I think is heavy, super heavy handed.
Yeah.
But in a sense, it's like you do lose a lot of time when you go through something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, I love your perspective, because that's exactly how I saw that. I had to go through that, as difficult as that was, and as much as I hated that. And I don't have really any ill feelings anymore. But it's funny, because I'll still have friends that will ask about, do you still see her, or when was the last time you saw the child and all that? And it's like, it's been like 8 years or whatever. And they're just like, oh man, I wish I could, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I get that. I don't get mad about that, or I don't like, but it's like, I get it.
Yeah, sure.
But I think, I just think when it kind of comes down to it, is just like, you were both kids at the time.
Sure.
And, you know, and maybe this is just me watching too many movies and TV shows, but like, you know, like, I think the best example is The Night Of. Have you heard of that? It's the HBO show.
I heard of it. Yeah. I tried to watch it once, but, I didn't get too far. I don't know. Not because I wasn't interested, but it's like you start something and it's like, you know, what do we got? Like 50 shows we're watching right now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I always joke that I try to watch a new show and then I end up just falling asleep with The Office on.
Yeah. There you go.
Or Arrested Development or something like that.
There you go.
But The Night Of, essentially in some ways is very similar to yours. I mean, this guy goes to jail for something he didn't do. So I guess there's a difference there, but he becomes institutionalized, and he's a totally different person when he gets out.
Yeah.
And the facts were clearly there, and you know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I think about when it's like, you did do something wrong. Yeah. Right. And there should be some type of penalty for that. Yeah. Now, if I was his parents, maybe I would see it differently. I totally see the bias in that.
Yeah,
if I
of course.
was, his brother or one of his friends, I would probably see it differently, but I would like to believe that if it was my kid that happened to, only because I feel like my dad would have believed that way, would be that, what about your life too? Yeah. You know, like you clearly made a mistake. You're not a violent person. You just started your life. Yeah. You know, you made a huge mistake. Now, like, you know, does he deserve 8 years where he could easily become the one thing he wasn't.
Sure.
You know, and I think that speaks to you that you obviously weren't that guy. And it's almost like you get out and you're like, see, like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I told you. Well, I mean, so a lot of that too is, you know, I don't know if I have the perspective that I do have without, you know, the support that I had being in there, just like, you know, friends, family, community, people that didn't even know me, you know? So that's a huge thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say, I don't want to take away from myself the fact that, you know, I was able to, you know, to make some good out of, you know, out of the situation that I was in, because, you know, I think that's very important that, you know, regardless of the situation, you know, you have the option to either let it swallow you or, you know, use it as a I guess like a way to become stronger or prove to yourself that you can get through things like that and just make the best of whatever situation, you know, that you can. And yeah, without, obviously, like I said, without my friends and family and the support of the community and stuff like that, it would have been a lot more difficult. But I like to think that somewhere inside of me is the, you know, the survival kind of, you know, survival mode that kind of led me to be able to manage that situation without allowing it to, you know, to affect me too much. And here's the thing, you know, in the very beginning, I definitely did go through a phase where I felt, you know, victimized in a sense, you know, and it took a lot of soul searching to kind of be able to gain the perspective that I do have on it, you know, like it took a lot of time me thinking like, you know, trying to think objectively about the situation and try and figure out like what feelings and emotions are gonna benefit me here and what's gonna make me, you know, go the wrong way. And I had some difficult times, you know. It definitely wasn't sunshine and rainbows in there, you know, by any means. So it took a while. It took a couple of years, I think, before I was able to gain a little bit of that perspective and stop feeling sorry for myself, you know, and start doing things to like, you know, to benefit my future, which is, you know, honestly, like when I started drawing and stuff like that all the time, that was one of the things. I mean, obviously there's no college campus or anything, you know, in prison, there's very limited resources in that sense. I think I was pretty fortunate to end up in a place where they did have like a correspondence college, when I ended up in, Solano, which is the place that I paroled from. They had a correspondence course system there, so I was able to get my associate's degree there, like through correspondence. They had a really good school program there. But before that, you know, this is like when I was, you know, 21 years old, 21 or 22, and I'd been in there for a little while already, and I kind of hit this point where I was like, you know, what am I doing here? You know, what's my plan? Because you got to think about that at some point. You know, it's not just like me trying to get through every single day without ending up, ending up in some kind of problem or whatever. You know. So yeah, that's when I started. So doing a lot of drawing and picked up tattooing and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it just goes to your character and your, you know, just who you are. That's just like, you know, that I think that's really important that it, you know, and nobody would blame you for being angry or like kind of wallowing in that for the first couple of years, because it's like, you know, it's just like, again, and you know, and we're both on the same page here. We're not, you know, nobody's victim blaming, and we're not.
No
way.
way.
I totally understand where his parents come from and all that, and I just think it's not black and white in my mind. Yeah, you know,
it's not. It's definitely not. Yeah,
and so that's what it's tough to get over, right? I mean, it's tough to not necessarily get over, I would say, but it's just tough to like kind of just go, all right, like, it just there's just still things from it where you're just like could have been done, something could have done differently.
Sure,
And of
sure.
course, you even said, to your credit, it's like you thought about that too. Should I just have not called? Should I just walked away after the first altercation and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of could we have done it differently? Probably from a lot of people should be.
Yeah.
Like the lawyer who represented you originally. I mean, I like to think that the prosecutor felt some type of remorse. Like, I don't know, maybe that was too much, at some point, but who knows?
Well, that's an interesting story. Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up. When I got out, I actually saw him. The guy who was I think his name was Bud. I saw him. I was at Target, and I think I was getting ready to go swimming or something like that. I didn't have a swimsuit, so I was looking for a swimsuit. And I saw him in the Target, and he saw me, and he recognized me, and he took off. Like he split. Yeah, like he was genuinely concerned, and I was just like, I thought it was funny, like I was gonna wave to him. I don't have any ill will. You know what I mean? Like that dude had a job to do.
Right.
It was, at that point it was 7, almost 8 years ago. At this point now it's like 16, 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get it. That's probably a difficult thing for somebody to feel. You put this kid away for 8 years, and then you see him when he never thought that was ever going to happen. You know what I mean? He probably never saw that happen. So, it actually made me feel bad, because like, dude, I'm not, no hard feelings. I get it. I'm looking forward. I'm not looking back, I'm looking forward in my life. But yeah, that's very, very interesting that you mentioned that. So,
well, yeah. So I wanted to kind of move on past the to just all that stuff. But I do have to ask, because I always found this fascinating. So just before we move on to your tattooing, how did Robert Duvall get involved with?
Oh man, yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
My mom was dating a lady back. This was like, it had been for I think a year or something like that at the time, and her dad was in real estate and had sold a house to Robert Duvall in Virginia years and years ago. I don't know the specifics, but somehow they ended up becoming friends because of it. And so this was like in 2000, oh man, I would say 2003, something like that, early 2003, maybe 2002. Robert Duvall and Will Ferrell were filming a movie together, Kicking and Screaming. I don't know if you remember that one. It's a soccer movie, kids movie. Yeah. And that was being filmed in was it Arcadia in LA somewhere? Is it Arcadia or Arcata? Arcadia, I think. Yeah. In LA, and they were filming the movie out there. And so Robert Duvall contacted Mary's dad, Jim, and invited him to come out and hang out while they shot it. And him knowing that Adam and I loved Will Ferrell. I love Robert Duvall too, but Will Ferrell is like, he's like one of my favorites. We were super into the SNL and stuff like that. And at the time that was like, he was blowing up, right?
Exactly.
Like, just hilarious. So he told Mary, and they got us all invited basically out there. They invited us out there to come hang out while they filmed the movie. So we went out there, got to meet Robert Duvall, which was awesome. We went out to dinner with him. Got to meet Will Ferrell, which was really, really cool. Yeah. And watched them film the movie a little bit and have lunch with them and stuff like that. Had dinner with them later. And so, anyways, it was that was a really cool experience. And I think at the time it was just one of those things where, everybody was kind of talking about it. And I think Jim, Mary's dad, had mentioned it to Robert Duvall, and he wanted to, get involved somehow and try and help, because he felt like it was, kind of an unfair deal there. And that was really, really cool hearing about that. And they went on the O'Reilly Factor. I actually still have the recording. They went on the O'Reilly Factor with Bill O'Reilly, and they had like a little segment, and yeah, he was pushing for me. It was cool.
Bill O'Reilly was?
No, Duvall
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. He was trying to, he was pretty supportive of the whole thing. So that was really, really cool. Yeah. It's cool stuff. So that's how he ended up getting involved. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like family, friends, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of fast forward a little bit. So you started tattooing. Yeah, and so
not it's not allowable, by the way. So,
yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, yeah.
It's like they have tattoo shops in prisons.
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, oh well,
there's no Ink Masters.
No, yeah, prison edition.
Yeah. Do you like that show, by the way?
No, I don't watch it.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of it. No.
Okay.
I guess I understand why people would be, but I feel like that's more of a reality show than it is a show about tattooing.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, there's tattooing involved.
But there's I don't watch it, but my really good friends do. So when I go visit, they have like a 2-year-old and they have a baby on the way.
Mm-hmm.
But they watch it. They taped it, so I'd watch it. It became kind of a guilty pleasure, but it was more because
it's dramatic. You know what I mean? Then I think in a huge sense, that's what people are looking for. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It really is. That there's very. I'm interested in tattoos, but I don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm like vicariously living through these other people.
Sure.
Although I don't think it's an ideal situation for a tattoo artist to get somebody in their chair and they only have X
6
amount
hours
or something like that.
That's what it is. I think it's like 6 hours.
And the person is wishy-washy about what they want.
Yeah. I feel like it's set up that way.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of stuff about that. I think people that don't have a lot of experience with, tattoos or in tattoo shops and stuff like that, you see that and you're like, oh yeah, this is how it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, there are some talented people who have been on the show and they have like guest judges and stuff like that that have been on there that was really kind of cool. And when I did, I'm not gonna say I've never watched it. I've watched it. You know what I mean? I'm not a huge fan of it, but I would just kind of flip through and see the tattoos that people are making. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, they put like the microscope up to some of these people's tattoos, and in some sense, I feel like it might give people an unrealistic expectation of kind of like what tattoos look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tattoos aren't made to, you get your eye as close as you can to the skin, and if there's any kind of imperfection, like it's a shitty tattoo.
Yeah.
That's not how it is. There's a human element,
Sure.
There's a human element involved. And so, I mean, for other reasons too. But I don't watch it too much.
Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah.
I get
I
it.
figure there's like, for just the artist in you, like, wants to see what other people are doing.
Sure.
But then on the other hand, you don't want to deal with all the drama and stuff.
Yeah. And then you got, Dave Navarro, you know what I mean? Judging other people's tattoos. And it's like, when he first started, on the show, he's I think he just pretty much had a bunch of shitty tattoos. I think he's got some good ones now. Now that it's been in a couple of seasons. There's been a ton of seasons, but in the very beginning, it's like, wow, this guy's judging somebody's tattoos. Like, what do you know about tattoos, man?
Yeah.
But the other two guys, Chris Nunez and Oliver, they're good tattooers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
I imagine they needed Dave Navarro for credibility. I
sure.
guess
Yeah. The star power.
Star power.
Yeah. Yep. Sure.
So you start
tattooing. Oh, it's okay. I don't care. Hey,
Yeah.
it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like it's not legal in there, but people do it all the time. And if I had never started doing it, where would I be? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So it's whatever.
So what did you get your AA or you got your
Yeah, that came after though.
Oh, okay,
I got my
yeah.
I got my associate's degree through correspondence. There was
Yeah.
like a little program, where they had a classroom and all that kind of stuff, and a proctor who would watch you take your tests, make sure you weren't cheating and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
And like hand out the assignments. But yeah, it was all done through correspondence through I think it was was it Palo Verde? Palo Verde College in Blythe, which is out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yep.
So you're close to getting out.
Yep.
And were you already like, oh, I'm going to work for a tattoo place, or I'm going to own a shop or whatever.
Yeah. That was the idea,
Yeah.
to be a tattooer. Sure.
Yeah.
Was the idea. And the difficult thing with that is, you have to deal with the parole office when you get out, and so trying to tell somebody who's like, okay, well, how are you going to clean up your life? Like, how are you going to adjust yourself back? Not clean up your life, but how are you going to adjust back to society after spending, almost 7 years in prison? What are you going to do? I'm going to be a tattooer. You know what I mean? Probably not the answer they wanted to hear. And on top of that, they want you to have a job. And
they want
I
you
wanted to
lined up.
have a job. And so, if you're going to be a tattooer, it's not just like, all of a sudden one day you're a tattooer now and you're Kat Von D and you're making millions of dollars in tats. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work like that. It takes time and sacrifice, and you gotta find a shop and build a relationship with a shop that's going to allow you to allow you to learn the trade. You know what I mean? It's not something that you just turn in an application for and all of a sudden, bam, you're a tattooer. You know what I mean? Like, you got to earn that.
Yeah.
And that happens if you do it the right way, you know what I mean, I guess. And that's coming from somebody who, that was my experience, on some level. It was a little bit different for me in other ways. But yeah, it's, especially like as popularized as it's become nowadays, through the TV shows and whatever else, it's like a trendy thing, right? People have this romanticized idea of what it's like to be a tattooer, and it's not that way for the most part,
Yeah.
But because of it, and because the barriers to entry are so low, all you realistically need is a license, a license to operate, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, it became cool more popular to do that kind of stuff. And then that's when you end up with all these crazy stories about, people ending up with shitty tattoos that end up needing to be covered up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Just not going about it the right way.
Right.
So yeah, that was always in the works, but when I first got out, I went to work for my dad. In the meantime, I was just doing like, the kitchen magician type stuff,
Yeah, sure.
Tattooing out of the house. I had it set up nice though.
Yeah.
I had it set up nice. And honestly, like that was really helpful because, I wanted to keep doing it because I enjoyed doing it, and I wanted to progress and get better. And so like I would spend time drawing and tattooing and stuff like that out of the house. I had it set up nice though. It wasn't just like, and I'm sure a lot of the people that, I tattooed quite a few people in my dad's garage there.
Sure.
And I'm sure they can attest. Like I kept it clean. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Thank you, by the way, anybody that got,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, supporting me and
Sure.
getting tattooed in my dad's garage. That's rad. Actually, you know what? I don't know if you remember Mike Hafes, the Hafes brothers.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. They went to Foothill.
Okay.
But I was tattooing him the other day, Mike, and I have this big like half sleeve that I'm doing on him, and it's gonna be a full sleeve eventually, but I'm working on this, and there's stuff that I started tattooing him in my dad's garage, and so like and then he came to get tattooed by me when I went to Death Before Dishonor in San Jose. And so like at that point it had been a couple years, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do things a little bit different, like let's cover this up. And then he came to see me at Stay True, which is where I'm at now. And so I look at the stuff that I did when I was at DVD, and I'm like, I do things a little bit differently now, like I've progressed. So like, I'm tattooing basically a cover up of my own work. So it's kind of funny. I mean, it turned out cool, like it looks really cool, you know what I mean? But we were kind of having a laugh about that the last time I tattooed him. It's just kind of funny, like that's let's see, seven years ago, you know, around at this point.
Yeah.
From then. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but yeah. So, started off working for my dad, did that for a little while. I think about maybe a year or so, something like that. Meantime, in the meantime, I was, you know, tattooing my free time in the garage and stuff like that, and ended up getting a job as a shop guy. You know, not tattooing, but getting a job as a shop guy out in San Jose. That turned into an apprenticeship, and then I started tattooing there.
Cool.
Yeah. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's your I apologize for being naive because again I don't have any tattoos.
Oh, that's okay.
What's your style or what?
Well, so I started off doing mostly black and gray stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of that just came from, you know, where I picked it up, you know, where I learned. And when I started drawing out, it's, you know, there's not like art stores or anything like that, so I just drew with the pencil a lot of the time, you know. And I think one of the first things that I actually ever tried to really seriously draw, to one of the guys that tattooed me while I was in there. He was like, yeah, you know, just like take pictures out of magazines, you know, things that you see that you like, or and trace them and learn how to draw them, you know. And so the first thing that I ever actually like seriously drew, I don't know if I still have this or not. I have to imagine that I do somewhere, but it was a picture of Mila Kunis.
Nice.
Out of a Maxim magazine,
Sure.
I think, because you know those float around in there.
Yeah.
And I took that I took that thing and I traced it. Yeah. And it you know, looking back on it, it wasn't great, but so and I did that a lot, you know, with like pictures out of magazines, not just ladies, like pretty ladies and stuff like that, but like, you know, anything that I saw in there that I liked, cars and from all kinds of, like, you know, we had pictures of tattoo magazines. My mom and brother would buy tattoo magazines and cut out the pages because we weren't supposed to have like the full magazines, you know.
Okay.
So they would just like rip out pages and send them in there with a letter or something like that, and I'd take that stuff
cool.
and I'd you know, find the cool things that I liked and try and recreate them and stuff like that. But I was really drawn to the realism, you know, in the beginning. So that was like you know, I drew a lot and I tried as much as I can to make things you know, realistic, and so the black and gray realism was where I kind of started. And then, you know, being more involved with it and just seeing all the cool stuff, being involved with the shop and stuff like that, and all the history behind tattoo imagery and stuff like that, I started to you know, broaden my horizon a little bit more. And I always loved all of it, you know what I mean? I loved all of it, but you know, the black and gray realism was what really initially caught my eye, so I pushed that really, really hard, and I continue to do that. But I broadened my horizon a little bit into like the traditional kind of style, you know, which I love as well. It's being more illustrative, like creating my own stuff and stuff like that. Yeah. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
And then did you, like, because drawing wasn't like, was that something that you had been doing your entire life as for fun, or did you just literally pick that up in prison?
No, I didn't pick it. So here's the thing. I mean, I'd always, I think, had an inclination or you know, an interest in being creative.
Yeah, sure,
you know what I mean? Definitely not the kind of learner or the kind of person who you know, I can sit down and like take a test or read a book, you know. That's really difficult for me. I'm more interested in doing stuff, you know. So creating things was always cool. But, you know, like I have some good memories of like, you know, making drawings and stuff like that. But it was never anything that I wasn't the guy that everybody would look at and be like, oh yeah, someday he's gonna be an artist, tattooer guy. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't that way. But I enjoyed doing it. And, you know, for me, when I really started getting serious about it, I had been drawing a couple of things and other people started appreciating it, you know. And it was the idea of creating something, you know, that was really special for me. And on top of that, like, it gave me something productive to do. And kind of kept my focus away from where I was, you know, and what I was experiencing. At that time, I was in the desert, you know. I was in this place, Ironwood. It's a level 3 facility that I just got moved to. It was a bigger prison than the one I was in before. A lot more people means a lot more problems. I think they had just had like an assault on an officer a couple of weeks before I got there, you know, on the yard I was moving to. And I actually ended up at one point getting moved off of that yard, not just me, but a lot of us, because of a racial riot that was, on that yard. So like it was a heavy duty place, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on, and so because of that, you have to be really careful. And like I just, it was hot as shit too. It was so fucking hot there, dude. It was crazy. It's Blythe is like, it's in California, but it's like in between Mexico and Arizona in terms of, like way down on the edge, like southeast of California. I'm pretty sure, like, it was the Mojave Desert out there.
Oh gosh,
It was horrible, dude.
Yeah.
It was so horrible. The weather just alone, but on top of that, you got a bunch of bored inmates out there. A lot of them are lifers, young kids, and you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of crazy shit, that happened out there, but it gave me something to do, like I focused on it, and I just, I had this moment where I was like, one day I was like, you know what? I got to do something,
right?
I enjoy doing this, and I can actually make a career out of it. And at that point, I don't think I'd ever, aside from sports, aside from football, I never had something that I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to give my everything to this and see what happens, and I did it. And, you start off with an interest, and then you fall in love with the process. And that's what happened to me. Like I really fell in love with the process of creating things. And then, it just, once I got my hands on a tattoo machine, I did as soon as I could, and I made these little stupid tattoos on myself. But, people started seeing the drawings that I had, and I was progressing, and so there's plenty of people who will volunteer to let you tattoo them, and so that's what happened. And I pretty much just, never stopped from there. And, here we are now. But yeah. So I just kind of had a moment where I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna dedicate everything to making this work. So, yeah.
No, that's incredible, man. I mean, again, just for what you went through, and then just you grabbed on to something that was always there.
Yeah.
It's kind of the tough part about trauma, is it does unearth that stuff.
Sure.
And so it's like, it's weird because people will say to you, like, I'm sure they say to you, oh, like, I don't know what I would have done if I was in your same shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just like, you don't really know what to say, because it's just like, it's my thing. I made the most of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't really quantify that.
Sure. Sure.
Because everybody responds to stress differently.
Yeah.
Right. But there are, from the rubble, like there's stuff, if your eyes are open, you can pull that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's definitely what you did. So, I mean, you should be, again, it's easy for me as an outsider who is, like just looking at the issues of the case, and I'm just, you can still kind of go, it's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
It is. The whole thing's crazy.
But at the end of the day, it's just like, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta pull yourself up, and you gotta make the most of it, and you did.
Yeah.
So you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I am. I definitely had a lot of help. That's for sure. But yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And so you have you're engaged.
Engaged. Yep.
Yeah. And you have a 2-year-old.
She's 20 months.
20 months.
a year and a half. I don't like, I don't do the counting like that.
Right,
but it's true. It's hard not to think about it.
Yeah.
So what's today, the 4th?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 days ago she was 20 months exactly, but she's a year and a half.
Very cool.
Year and a half old. Yep.
And so where are you tattooing now?
Stay True Tattoo in Dublin.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've been there. I think it'll be my first day there was in May 2016, so it's almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
And then what place were you with before?
Death Before Dishonor Tattoo in San Jose, which is actually now closing. Well, they're relocating. That location is gone, but
Gotcha.
that place is like a piece of tattoo history. So I'm very fortunate to have been able to to work in that shop. But yeah, 3 years ago, started working at Stay True in Dublin, which, hometown shop, awesome, awesome crew. Everybody that works there is extremely talented. And then of course, like, Ryan, the owner, you know, at the head of all that, you know, he's created this, environment there, it's almost like a family, you know, like everybody is extremely talented, passionate, and you know, not so up their own ass that they can't like accept help or criticism, or, you know what I mean? Like, we're all pushing each other to be better, you know, to be better. And so and it's a very, you know, close group. Like, we go on outings and stuff like that together, and we have shop meetings every week, and you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really cool. It's a very tight ship there, and I've grown artistically and just, you know, like as a person a lot since I've been there. So it's a great shop. Yeah, and it's in the hometown, you know what I mean? So, which is really cool. It was really hard to get people to drive out to San Jose. I mean, that drive is horrible. Oh yeah. Anybody that has ever done it, especially during traffic hours, I'm sure you could attest to that. I mean, it's a horrible drive. And then on top of that, you got to pay to parking, and you know, then the trip back, and then you got to pay for the tattoo. It's tough, you know. So once I got here, it was a little bit easier to, you know, to get people to come in and get tattooed. And the shop, you know, by itself, just as far as like from a walk-in standpoint, there's a lot of walk-in traffic there too. So it was, you know, just things just for me progressed really, really well once I started working there. Yeah, it's cool.
So yeah, I mean, that's it's just crazy how, you know, again, kind of what we were saying before, just how that through trauma and through those really tough experiences, you just get, you know, you find yourself, right? Yeah. And you know, because it could have easily gone the other way.
Sure.
Right. But you are who you are. Right. And that's where it's just kind of like, you know, I think it's definitely a good story for people to see. Yeah. You know, because, again, it could have gone the other way.
And you know, the funny thing about that is I have personal, a personal experience with that exact same thing. Like a situation very similar to mine, going about as wrong as it could go in the opposite direction. Is it cool if I just kind of go off on a little? Okay. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Just this kid that I knew, we were in a cell together in the very beginning, and same age, similar time that we had left, and all that kind of stuff. And long story short, you know, the kid got wrapped up in the wanting the approval of the fellas, you know, out there, and ended up getting himself into some trouble, and agreed to, you know, do some dirty work for some guys in there, and ended up really injuring somebody, and caught another case, caught a life sentence. First term, young kid, same age, you know, getting out around the same time, had the same amount of time left, and you know, I went one way, he went the other, and that's just like, I got to experience that firsthand, and I was like, holy shit, dude, this is going to be a crazy story to tell somebody sometime, you know, like, just as a frame of reference, you know, it can go very wrong, if you don't stay true to who you are, you know, and if you don't have, you know, a nice support system, and some, I guess like some, I don't know. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but, you know, some kind of a moral compass that keeps you out of doing stupid shit just for approval of people you don't know. You know,
exactly.
It's crazy. So anyways.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's like, I'm really glad you share that, because that's essentially the heart of this whole thing, right? Is that this was never who you were anyway. Yeah. You didn't belong with those people. I mean, there's people in there, like you said, that they're in there for life. Yeah. They don't care. I mean, a lot of them
nothing
don't care.
Nothing to lose.
They have nothing to lose. You shouldn't be mixed in with people like that.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and especially, you know, again, that's a conversation. I'm sure you have your own opinions about the jail system, and the prison system and stuff. But yeah, that's just what it comes down to is, you know, it's whether it's rehabilitation versus punishment. I mean, we can go all day about all that stuff, right?
Yep.
But yeah. So I mean, again, you took the initiative, and you chose your path after that, because you could have easily have just, you know, done a lot of different things.
Yeah, sure.
What would be a tattoo piece, whether it's like a full body one or it's sleeves or whatever? What's something that you just wish you could do one day? Like something that you're like, man, I hope one day somebody will let me do this.
I'm already doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple, right? So far I haven't tattooed my dad.
Okay.
But he always jokes about it. I don't know if he's being serious or not, but he talks about, oh yeah, give me a tattoo.
Right.
So tattooing my dad would be awesome. Just 'cause
Yeah.
he's so not the kind of, I mean, if you know my dad, he's not the kind of person, you know what I mean, that you would expect to have a tattoo. So
Sure.
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I tattooed my mom.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. One of the most nerve-wracking tattoos I think
bet.
I've ever done. Yeah. It was like a little rose on her foot. I think it took me like 2 hours. It's so long because
Sure.
it's just like must be perfect.
Right,
you know,
right.
It's mom. Yeah. So I tattooed my mom, but a back piece, which is like one of aside from a bodysuit, a back piece is one of the more striking kind of tattoos just because it's so big. You know? And I started that last year on Adam. So
very
we started
cool.
Adam's back piece. Yeah, first one I've ever started. But yeah, this last year I finished up 2 sleeves that were all like black and gray, kind of semi-realism, detailed kind of stuff. So that was really cool. But yeah, I'm working on my brother's back piece, and it's gonna be pretty epic. There's a lot that goes into that. Yeah,
I bet.
Yeah,
because you can't do it all in one sitting, regardless of what Ink Master tells you.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. 6 hour back piece.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's bullshit too. I mean, there's got to be other stuff going on.
Right.
Like that. I mean, some of those things you imagine those taking 2 hours. Like, what are you not even stopping to take like a drink or use the bathroom or anything like that? And the people getting tattooed. I mean, you have to imagine they're using some kind of numbing stuff and just doing the theatrics for TV.
Exactly.
But I don't know. That's just what I imagine. But
it does when you're in it.
Yeah.
When you're doing it every day, right?
Sure.
You can look at some of that stuff and go, I just don't know how they do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair to.
Yeah.
From your perspective.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, like getting tattooed as well, doing tattoos is awesome, but it's not just doing tattoos that I really like, it's getting them as well. You know, that was where my first interest was in getting them, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of people I'd love to get tattooed by at some point, just not, takes time and money and
sure,
that kind of stuff. But the want is there, so I'm figuring it all out. Like every day, I'm thinking, what am I gonna get here? There's just like empty spaces on me that I just hate, So it's like, and people that I really want to get tattooed by and stuff like that. So yeah, just always thinking about that kind of stuff. It's on my mind all the time.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
It really does. It's a huge part of who I am. Yeah.
So before we let you go, I gotta get. Well, it's just like it's hard for me. I'm sure it's hard for everybody. What's your favorite movie?
Oh shit, I don't even know. Man, I don't know if I have a single favorite movie. There's a lot of movies that I really like.
Because you probably like me. You go through phases.
Yeah.
Where you're like, your one's like your top.
Sure.
And then at some point you find something else, or you revisit an old movie. Where like, no, maybe this one's the top.
Yeah. So. The first movie that ever really struck me was it was a while back, but it's the Usual Suspects.
Oh yeah,
I loved that movie. Kaiser Soze is just like the coolest, right? And the way that Kevin Spacey played that role was just so awesome.
Yep.
Very unsuspecting there at the end, like the way that
movie
ended.
Did it.
It blew my mind. I think I was the first time I ever saw that movie. I think I was kind of stoned, right? But at the very end, where he stops limping and has the walk, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So that was the first time I can remember, seeing an ending to a movie and being, oh wow, that's really cool. But there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many movies. Anything by Quentin Tarantino I love.
Sure.
There's man, I'd have to sit and think about that for a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know it's on the spot because it's hard. I don't know a lot of people that have a legit top 5.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have one where movies kind of come in and go.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I don't know that anybody that has an exact number 1 favorite.
Yeah.
They say they do, but generally that changes throughout the course of,
Totally. When your interests change and stuff like that. The Kill Bill series was really cool to me. I loved that series. What is it? The Departed. I love The Departed.
That's a great movie.
Gangs of New York. I love. There Will Be Blood.
Yep.
Daniel Day-Lewis. That movie was so good. This movie Lawless that I really like.
Okay.
With Tom Hardy.
Yep.
Yeah. That movie Lawless with Tom Hardy was really, really good. There's another movie with him where he's a bartender. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, really good movie. There's
Yeah,
a bunch. There's a bunch. I mean,
well, there's movies that you watch and they're, what they're on TV, you're like, I'll watch this right now.
sure.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
The Irishman, that's gonna be a great movie. That's gosh, it's De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino, and then Harvey Keitel,
Oh wow.
and it's directed by Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
And it's gonna be on Netflix,
Nice.
so it won't be like a theater thing.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that should be pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
if you like those types of movies.
I do.
Yeah.
The Boondock Saints.
Yes.
That was a great movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard they did a second one. Didn't watch it. I heard it was kind of strange, but the Boondock Saints was a great one. Particularly, so they say, it's the two brothers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so they have this scene where, man, it'd been a while since I've seen it, but the scene where they come in and grab one of the brothers, and these mobster dudes are about to kill this dude, so they take him downstairs and they chain the other one to the toilet.
Yeah.
And so he knows that his brother's like about to die, right? So he just like he freaks out and rips out the toilet,
Yeah.
and then looks out the window and throws the toilet
Right.
down, jumps on the
Jumps
other
on
one.
those other
Yeah,
guys, yeah.
like breaks his legs or breaks his leg or something, so he could save his brother from being killed. That was crazy. That was a crazy scene in the movie.
There's a documentary about the guy who directed that.
Uh-huh.
There's a crazy. I don't remember the exact thing, but the guy who directed it, there's like this crazy blacklist that happened with him because he was kind of like, from what I remember, he was kind of temperamental to work with or something like that.
Okay.
But there's like a whole documentary, if I recall, on the making of that movie and how crazy it was to make that movie.
I'm sure it was crazy.
Yeah. When I find out, I'll text you with it.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So again, where can people, if people are interested in
Moana's another favorite of mine.
Milana?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hazel loves it.
I was gonna say, I wonder why.
I liked it too. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, man.
Yeah.
Those things, the storyline behind that thing is pretty crazy. Anyways,
Yeah. Are you talking about Moana? Moana. Yeah. Was that Pixar or the DreamWorks or
it's Disney.
Disney?
So I think that would be Pixar,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
They can't
They
lose.
kill it. Yeah.
Yeah. They
kill
can't
it.
lose
yeah.
at all.
I wasn't a huge fan of what's the snow one? The Frozen.
Frozen. Yeah.
Wasn't a huge fan of Frozen, but Moana killed it. I loved that movie.
I haven't seen it, but I heard good things. Plus the
It's
Rock's
really
in
good.
it.
Yeah,
Can't go back
the Rock's
there.
awesome there. Yeah. That was a really good movie. Anyways,
Yeah. No. So
just out of nowhere, Moana. Yeah.
you have a little one.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you're just
anything that she likes, I love. You know what I mean? So yeah. But she got into that movie, but I watched it too, and I'm a fan. Even if she wasn't, I think I'd be a fan.
Yeah. Well, it helps. It helps that you like what she likes. Because it could be a Baby Shark situation.
Oh
or
yeah.
it could be,
Yeah. Baby Shark is watched quite often.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hazel loves Baby Shark.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that too is now I'm way softer than I ever used to be. Not that I was ever like really super tough and macho or anything, but I'm way softer now that I have a daughter. And so I can admit to liking that kind of stuff and not feel bad about it because all I got to do is be like, my daughter likes it. No big deal.
Yeah, and not to go back, but that's why the whole thing was so puzzling to me, is because, like, again, I didn't know you, but I knew of you, and when you hear that, it's just like there's no way that either one of them could have done that.
Yeah.
Do you know, like that was in their heart? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And I know it doesn't
totally.
matter. Per se, I mean, it's just still.
I wasn't a saint by any means,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, and never claimed to be, but I wasn't a criminal.
No,
you know what I
no.
mean? Like I wasn't a violent criminal or anything like that. I've done stupid shit in my life. Who hasn't? But I wasn't a criminal.
Yeah, well, Pleasanton. I mean, again, comparing Pleasanton to Oakland or Richmond or anything like that is stupid. But Pleasanton, it's weird. There's a lot of stuff that happened in Pleasanton. I mean, it's like not necessarily by you or I, but there's a lot. It's a big city. I mean, it's a bigger city, and there's a lot that kind of goes on. And like when we were in high school, there's definitely some dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
Like people coming in from other towns.
Oh,
and even some people in town that were like older than both of us combined who were up to no good and all that type of stuff. So it's Pleasanton's still Pleasanton, but there's definitely like a lot of kids we knew were like, for lack of a better phrase, like tough kids.
Yeah.
Not that you were like criminals or not that we were criminals, but there was a lot of fighting.
Yeah, sure.
You know, you're
Well,
teenagers.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Teenage boys, especially. You know, it's like
Yeah.
that's gonna happen
Yeah.
on some level. Yeah.
So where can people, if people are interested in working with you, so they say your tattoo shop again
Yep. Stay True Tattoo in Dublin.
in Dublin?
Yep.
Very cool.
It's on Amador Valley Boulevard, 7453 Amador Valley Boulevard. It's right by a Chuck E. Cheese in Dublin. Anybody that knows where Chuck E. Cheese is, it's right over there.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then where can people follow you on Instagram and look at your work?
Just my name, Brendon_Rose.
Okay.
And then with the shop, like everybody that works there is really good, and then we always have like guest artists coming in from like, you know, friends of ours from other cities or states or whatever that are coming in. But you can follow me, and then you can follow the shop. It's just stay _true _ tattoo. So Stay True Tattoo with just the underscore spaces. And you know, we have like all of our work being posted on there. Everybody's tagged in their stuff, but my personal one is just my name, Brendon Rose. Yep.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about all this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was fantastic,
really cool.
and I mean, and it's really cool to finally talk to you because again, we knew of each other, walked past each other a million times, but never got a chance to really talk. And again, man, I'm just super proud of what you've accomplished, and you know, and definitely sharing it and being as open as you are, because I think that's important. That could help somebody else.
Yeah.
You know,
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Well,
cool. Thanks for giving me, you know, a platform to do that. That's really cool. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime. Yeah, we'll have to eventually, when I get tatted up, I'll have to have you come back on and tell me if they're good or not.
All right, cool. Yeah.
If I actually do that.
Yeah,
I've been talking about it for like 10 years probably.
There you go. Or you could just come to me and I'll
there you go.
give you some good ones.
I do have some ideas, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Well, cool. Well, thanks to everybody that is tuning in and listening today. Appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the Facebook page, please do. Also our YouTube channel, as well as the SoundCloud account for those of you that are looking for the audio only versions. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.